Well, we want to welcome you guys back to the Art of Show. We're hanging out with Jessie today, calling in all the way from the Upper East Side of New York. You said East Side, right? Yes. We are having a blast talking about all things children's books and illustration, and we're looking forward to chatting with you today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is great.
Yeah. Well, to kind of get into it, I was looking at your bio, and your undergrad degree was in anthropology. Is that right?
It was, yeah.
So
Yeah.
was art and drawing, was that still part of your childhood? Was that something you did as a kid, or was that something that came later?
Yeah, so I drew a lot as a kid, and I was always interested in art, but I never even really considered it as a career path. And it wasn't really even a like, oh, I wanted to do this, and anybody was telling me, oh, no, that's not realistic, or no, you need to do something safer. I just never really even thought of it that way, I guess. It was just something that I did for fun when I was home from school. And so then it wasn't until I was out of college, actually, that I even realized that I might want to do that for
Yeah.
work.
What were the things you liked to draw as a kid?
It's a good question. I have a lot of drawings around that I used to, like, early on copy books, like picture book drawings, like characters from picture books. There's this great book. It's called The Ice Cream Cone Coot. I don't know if you've ever heard it.
No.
It's an Arnold Lobel book that I feel like is not as popular. Maybe it could be wrong. But I recently found some drawings that were me copying them, and it's basically like a whole book of like weird birds that he came up with. There's not really any plot. It's just like, hey, and it's all rhyming. So it's like the ice cream cone coot is one of them, and it's like a bird made out of ice cream cones. So I recently found some drawings that I had copied out of that book when I was little. And I feel like if you had found them out of context, you would have been like, oh, look how creative this child was.
That's
right?
awesome.
But it's actually just an awesome book. And I drew a lot of stuff of like what I imagined myself doing when I was older, or so my parents tell me, like a lot of like, when I'm older, this is my job, sort of stuff when I was little. And then when I was older, I drew just stuff that came out of my imagination. I had a lot of those how to draw manga books.
Yeah.
And which I think helped me a lot with anatomy. I had some anatomy books I used to draw from, that sort of stuff.
That's cool. That's really cool. So, as you were drawing as a kid, were there any types of stories that you kind of gravitated towards, or like different genres, or kind
I
of?
liked spooky stories, I think, when I was a kid.
Okay.
There's that well-known like scary stories to tell in the dark.
Yeah.
Book, with all the really, really terrifying drawings. That's something that really stands out in my mind, which is not really reflected in my current art style. I don't think.
There's not too many scary unicorns showing up, at least so far in the stuff I've seen.
I mean, there are ways I'm sure you could imagine it getting pretty dark and scary.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. But no, we stayed away from all of that. But I always liked scary books. I don't know. I really liked being scared, and I liked scary movies, that sort of thing.
That's cool. That's cool. What's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, no. I'm so bad when people ask me that sort of thing, putting me on the spot. Oh, you know what? The Babadook is a really great.
Yeah. That's good.
It's more recent. I used to really like campy movies when I was younger.
Okay. Yeah.
Like Werewolf, like you can like see that they stopped it to do some like bad stop motion claymation, like extending or something like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
So like
gory.
The old school,
stuff.
yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I watched the Strangers recently. It was at like a friend's lake house, and it was like pitch black, and we were terrified basically the entire night. So it was super super creepy. Yeah, but those are a lot of fun. Okay, so you've got scary movies, you've got anthropology. How did you get into kids books then?
So I don't have that many memories of like, I know that I read a lot of picture books as a kid, but I don't ever remember sitting down and being like, oh, this is a thing that I want to do, like I said. And so I drew a lot all through my childhood and through high school, and then I went to college and still would draw in my free time. I'll just give a whole background of like how I ended up getting, because why not? So when I was in college, I liked drawing enough in my free time that I used some of my work study money to buy a low-end tablet. Like a drawing tablet, and a student copy of Photoshop.
Okay.
And I used to just play with it and learn how to use that stuff in my free time. And then I happened upon a website called woot.com that
Yeah.
has the shirt woot, right? They have like a shirt competitions. And so I thought that that would be really fun. It was just like a kind of like a distressing thing.
Hmm.
You just relax and draw some things. And it was always like, it was like 1 week. So you had to come up with an idea on a theme in a week and like submit it. And it was just a fun thing to do. So I started doing those when I was in college to no real, I didn't have any success with them or anything really. So then once I graduated college and didn't really know what I wanted to do still, I had still been doing a lot of those shirts and I started thinking about, oh, how could I maybe make art into a job? So I thought about doing graphic design because it felt like I wasn't ready to like jump to illustration felt like not safe at all
Yeah,
as a
yeah, yeah.
thing, And so I was like, oh, graphic design, that's a thing people have jobs doing. Let me do that. So I went into a program for graphic design that was only did a semester in, but while I was there, I started thinking some more and realized that I didn't really like graphic design and wanted to just draw and all this time still just doing those t-shirt designs. And then I started, sorry, I'm like really rambling,
No, no, this is great.
but so I was doing the t-shirt designs, which actually, when I would think about it, like thinking back on it, kind of remind me a little bit of picture books because you have to have like good t-shirt designs on a theme have a concept
Uh-huh.
and they almost have like their own punchline. I guess is what I would say for like graphic tees, like funny graphic tees. And so I'd been doing that for a long time, and I ended up getting a job making T-shirts at a women's sci-fi and fantasy
Oh, cool.
licensed apparel place. Right? Yeah, so it did like Star Wars and Star Trek and Marvel, like things like that
Yeah.
then get sold to other stores, right? And so while I was doing that, I then on the side started playing around with illustration, getting more and more interested in picture books, and then studying the form a little bit on my own, getting more into it, and I would kind of go back and forward between trying to like improve my t-shirt and graphic design skills and trying to get better at picture books and back and forth until I took the plunge into picture books. Yeah.
Yeah. So when was that when you took the plunge?
Well, so I mean, I kind of just went back and forward
Okay.
in a kind of safe manner for a couple of years, but I mean, when I actually started trying to put things out there, it's probably like 2014,
Okay.
maybe 2015. Yeah,
Gotcha. That's
yeah,
cool. That's really cool. Did I see? I feel like I saw one of your t-shirt designs, and it was a unicorn. Have I seen
yeah.
that? Yeah, but it was like an angry unicorn or something along
It
those
is.
lines.
Yeah, that's really funny. So the one it was actually one of the first t-shirts that ever like won one of those
Okay,
competitions.
cool.
Like got me thinking like, oh, maybe I'm actually okay at drawing, that sort of thing. And it's what is it? What is the text? I guess it's rainbows are just colorful frowns or something like
That's
that.
awesome. Yeah.
And yeah, and there's this really angry unicorn sitting under a rainbow. Yeah.
That's really good. That's really cool. Well, so when you were going into the picture book world, did you have like a concept or an idea? Like, were you pitching a dummy, or you just kind of just shopping around for agents?
So, I mean, for a while, I had a few ideas that I had kind of put, it's really hard sometimes to figure out exactly how to go about, presenting your things to the world. And it took a long time to figure out how dummies worked,
Hmm.
and so I was coming up with stories, and putting together dummies for a little while before I actually was trying to, send them out to anybody. A few of those stories were just too insane. They were like, now that I know better, I'm like, this is a terrible idea. I'm glad nobody like grabbed onto that one. But then, when I started sending out stuff for like Not Quite Narwhal, that was a story idea that I had come up with, like when I was in college before I knew I was even interested in books. It was just kind of a general concept of wouldn't it be funny if there was a unicorn that lived in the sea with narwhals? That's so funny, haha. But then there was nothing to do with it really because I wasn't thinking about books. So I guess at some point, once I started getting actually interested in picture books, I started mining my own, old notebooks for
Oh, cool.
just little ideas like, oh, because when I was a kid, I drew a lot at home, but I drew all the time in school, like on the side of my notes and all of that stuff. And so that carried into college. And so I went back and looked at a lot of my notebooks. I did take one drawing class in college. So I looked at that old stuff and just things that I would draw when I wasn't really thinking about too much,
Yeah.
And tried to, steal ideas from myself, from my
Yep.
past self.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Now, do you remember when you got, I guess, the contract for Not Like a Narwhal? Like, was there like a moment where you're like, oh, this is like green lit, like we're gonna rock and roll with it?
yeah. So the story of not of that whole thing, it's kind of, it was like a whirlwind sort of story that I feel like nobody likes to hear because it's not like how it normally works, right? And so I got my agent in June 2015, and then we sold Not Quite Narwhal in July 2015. So it was like a real fast
Yeah,
process.
yeah, yeah.
My agent found me through Twitter, through a Twitter. Have you ever heard of? They have like Twitter pitch parties.
Oh,
Like
cool.
there's one called Pitch Madness that's run by Brenda Drake, and it's really cool. It happens pretty often. I think maybe the rules have changed at this point, but at the time that I was doing it, basically just at a specified time you would or day, and then like for I guess it was like 12 hours that day from like 8 to 8 or something like that, you could submit a Twitter version of your book pitch.
Oh, cool.
So 140 characters, including like a hashtag PB and for picture book and like hashtag whatever, like happy or sad or not sad, but like serious or whatever you wanted to specify about like the general feel of your book. So that's how I submitted to that, and that's how I found my agent, which was pretty cool. I attached like a little picture of Kelp at the time, which I guess still exists somewhere on Twitter, like an early version of him in his little clamshell bed. That helped out, I think. But so that's how I met my agent, and we signed pretty quickly after that. And then we worked together on just making my dummy is the best that it could be, because you have to have a full dummy before you participate in the Pitch Madness situation, right? Because you don't want to get the attention of an agent and then not really have anything to show them. So I had a full dummy, and we worked on that together, and then we sent it out in the beginning of July, and we started getting responses pretty much the same day that we sent it out, which was really cool. And so I think that right then probably, well, when I got my agent, it started to feel real. And then once we sent it out and started getting responses so quickly, then it really felt real. Because, I mean, generally people say that you should, anticipate not hearing back for long periods of time. And so I was ready for that.
Mhm.
Totally, like, it could be that we shop this around and we don't hear anything, and we have to make more edits and take people's suggestions and make changes and keep it. And so I was ready to do that. So when it came back that people were interested right away, it was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Mhm.
So from that time getting it back, kind of when were you through the process of putting it together and going through all the edits?
Oh, you mean like with the publishing house, like,
Yeah,
until it was final art?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's a question. Okay, so I think my final art was due in the February. So wait, okay. So it came out February 2017, and so I think the art was probably due December 2015. 2015. Yeah,
Okay,
I
cool.
think. So it took a long time. That doesn't sound right. Hold on. I'm like
No, you're good.
No, I guess it would have, yeah. It took a while. I would say that the longest is once the final art is done, then sitting
Right,
around
right.
and waiting for it to come out feels like forever and ever and ever. Um, so I guess the art itself didn't really take that long because I came in with a pretty polished dummy to work with, so that was good, and we didn't actually make too many huge changes. So the art went pretty fast, and so
Gotcha.
we were able to do that. Yeah. But it was, I mean, it was a really great process. My editor was awesome. We got along super well. He definitely, and it sounds a little bit pretentious, but like he like got my vision,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he
yeah.
didn't want to, there wasn't anything that we butt heads on, or like, oh, well, this isn't how it should end or anything like that. And my art director was amazing. She's still my art director. It's great. So, yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. So Not Quite Narwhal came out February the 14th. Is that right?
Yeah,
So
Valentine's
Valentine's Day,
Day.
awesome. You got a great Valentine's Day present.
Yeah.
So is there a favorite spread that you have from it, or one that really stands out? Remember working on?
Um, that's interesting. So a spread that I really like. So let me see. I have the book right here. I'll
Okay.
just show it to you.
Yeah.
Um, so a spread that I really like, that I think I like now more that I've been out visiting with children is this spread where when Kelp first
Oh
comes
yeah.
on land and he's learning how to walk for the first time, because kids really like to act things out, right? So I always try to, I mean, depends. If there's like a huge school, it's kind of hard, but even then, you can usually get like a volunteer to come to the front and you're like, okay, how does a crab walk? And they like act out the crab walking, and then you like show them how kelp fell over, and then you ask them about a frog. It's great. Really interactive, and that one's super fun. But in terms of like art, like actually drawing it, I mean, this was a pretty fun page
Oh
to
yeah.
do. Yeah, with all the rainbows, and it's actually really funny because while a lot of this book didn't change, the level of rainbows definitely changed. Like there was actually very few rainbows in this book to begin with, and my art director at some point, I feel like she's probably tired of hearing me quote this, but she was like, "You need to get in touch with your inner Lisa Frank," and so. Do you remember Lisa
Yeah.
Frank?
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know. Yeah, right, with all of the
Yeah.
the like trapper keepers and
Yeah.
all of that, right? And so I was like, okay, get in touch with Lisa Frank, and they're like adding lots of rainbows. And that scene was actually originally in the like, original artwork. It was like in some sort of weird valley. It was
Huh.
like dark. I don't know. It just didn't make any sense. And so the way that that ended up, especially from the change from the original dummy to the final art, is probably my
Yeah, yeah,
favorite.
yeah. When I saw the cover and I saw the rainbows, and then was reading through the whole thing, like at first I was like, "Oh, is this going to be like super cheesy, like rainbows, like Lisa Frank?" But it's not ironic, but it's like it's funny the way it's done. So
I'm
it's
glad.
really cool.
I'm glad it came off that way. Some of my favorite reviews of this book, I won't get too much into reviews, but are ones that say like they saw the book cover and they thought they were going to hate the book, or like they saw that there was like it was like a unicorn with rainbows and they like rolled their eyes, and then they're like, oh, but it's like sweet but not saccharine, and I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
thanks guys, you're right. That's what I was going for. Thanks.
That's cool. That's really cool. Well, so you've got another book coming out next March. Is that right?
Mhm,
With Harriet
I
Gets Carried
do.
Away, and I think I saw the
Yeah.
cover for that one recently.
Yeah, I have F and G's
Oh,
already
cool.
here, so I can show you. So this is Harriet gets carried away. This is Harriet, who likes to wear lots of costumes, and then she gets literally and figuratively carried away by these penguins right here. Yeah, so this is. I'm really excited about this book. I don't know how to. I mean, that's pretty much the whole pitch of the book.
Yeah.
Is it's definitely more of a like wild adventure sort
Okay.
of story. uh, yeah,
That's cool. That's really cool.
yeah.
So now is this what you're doing pretty much full time, or are you still doing some stuff on the side?
You know what? I have been lucky enough that I've been able to start doing this full time, which is really nice. It's not always the case, but yeah. I mean, so before I was doing this, most of my work was kind of freelance anyway. So there's always it's nice to have that as a like you could kind of get back into that if you needed to. But luckily, I've been able to just start doing this full time, which
That's
is
awesome.
so fun.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. Well, when your next one comes out, I definitely want to have you back on and chat again more about Harriet when you can talk more about it. But that's really
Yeah.
cool.
Thanks.
Sweet. Well, this one I know we got a little bit short. But is there any good places you would send people that want to follow you and follow your work and kind of
Sure.
your progress as you're going?
Yeah. So if you want to find me on the internet, my website is just my name, jessiesima.com. And then you can find me on Twitter, also just my name. Use Instagram a little bit, and it's just Jessie underscore Sima.
Okay.
Just for some reason, my name was taken by somebody. I don't know. Yeah, those are the best places to find me.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time and chatting
Yeah.
with me, and I can't wait to see the next ones that you have coming out. So,
Yeah. Thank you so much. I had a great time.
yeah, this is my pleasure.